What's up, everybody? Thralls of Metal here. I'm Jammin Jon.
I'm Shredlord. Necrotic Nick.
And we are bringing you yet another album review. And this time we are doing what we are known for on this channel, at least how we started. We're going to dive a little bit more into the underground. In fact, so underground, we're going to go over an unsigned band. So we are going to go over the debut EP from Rituaal, Elimination, Extermination, Eradication. This record comes out on the 25th of November. Again, this is an unsigned band. Formed in November of 2022 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Features ex-members of Demiricus and Cadaverous. The band was pretty much formed 2 days after Demiricus called it quits. So pretty much striking while the iron was hot, or before the corpse is cold. Take your pick of analogies there. For those that don't know and have never heard of this band, much like we haven't, this is filthy, riffy, old-school, brutal death metal. And again, while I haven't heard this band up until a couple days ago, I've known Scott, Ben, and Dustin from Demiricus for a good 20 years now. They've been longtime friends, so when Scott sent me this record, of course I wanted to go over it, and they've been really hyping this album too. I know they've been waiting for it a long time, so yeah.
I'm new to this band as well. I was a big fan of Demiricus back in the day. I have both of their full lengths, and then, got their most recent one. We even reviewed it, saw them live, and then we got the news that they broke up, so we've been kind of waiting for these other projects to come about. We already went over Flesher not too long ago, and yeah, it's just kind of cool to see these guys like still getting at it and just cranking out killer metal.
I am also new to these guys. However, an incredibly young, bare-assed Shredlord has definitely opened up for Demiricus back in the day. I remember that show very well, and it was a good time had by all. And I think that's when you met them and became friends with them, because your house turned into the party house.
Yeah, they crashed the night at my house. I'm sure we've gone over this story before, but yeah, they crashed at my house after the show, and we drank a lot of beer. A lot. I was actually unaware that the human body could imbibe 30 cases of Coors Light, but it happened, and yeah, and pretty much ever since then we've been friends, and yeah, I was stoked to go over this record, and what an offering this is. To be honest, I think this is probably the heaviest thing I've heard, at least these guys do together as the incarnation of the band they're in now. It is riffy as shit, very punchy, very aggressive, just like non-stop heaviness. The vocalist has kind of a great roar to him. Like, I won't say it's overall growls all the time, but it's just a big bellowing roar. Very upbeat stomp. There's a lot of tremolo to it, so it's very dark, and again, just very chuggy and heavy.
It kind of kicks off like very brutally, but also with some atmosphere, and this EP is really good about kind of balancing that out. You get like these heavy syncopated chugs over this just mean as shit blast beat, and then kind of behind those chugs you get this like dissonant droning tremolo. Kind of sounds a little bit evil and dark, and then this band really gets down to the just flat out gnarly riffing on here. It's a really interesting mix of like kind of like modern death metal and old school death metal here. Like there's a lot of like that precise chugging that you hear in bands like Decapitated, but also lots of throwbacks to bands like Morbid Angel, Boat Froa, and Asphyx as well. Like you get kind of like a good mix of all that old school energy, and yeah, it's just kind of vicious throughout, but a lot of cool nuances in it.
Every riff is kind of something new. I may or may not have pulled something in my neck. We will see tomorrow. But for an EP, it's, you know, obviously EPs being quick, but it was quick and thrashy and headbanging the whole time, man. I liked how the album started, and the last track kind of ended the same. If you kind of think as far as pacing goes, because the album starts just whooping your ass, and then once again, every new riff kind of brings something new and exciting. There isn't spots where it kind of dulls and you're like, man, I want it to go back to whatever was before or after. It did a really good job, all the riffs, of really catching your attention. None of it felt like a quick filler riff. It all felt very well thought out. But going back to what I was saying, I felt this EP was kind of cool in the sense that it brutally beats your ass in the beginning, and it also brutally beats your ass in the end, and it still takes you on a journey throughout a couple different places throughout the middle.
There's a lot of like interesting stylistic shifts in here. Like I feel like, you know, that there was just like samples of different kinds of death metal on here, and I mean, I like almost all death metal, so it was really cool to hear like just some different stuff. Like Forged in Blood. Forged in Blood, I can hear a ton of thrash metal.
Yeah.
Lots of machine gun riffs. There's a D beat that comes stomping right in. It's energetic, it's bombastic, but as the song goes on, you start hearing like these really clever melodies. There's some almost Nihilish tones in there too. It's a really solid groovy chorus in between like these like faster sections. it's just a well-written song. Lots of cool harmonies on the bridge, too. The bridge, in particular, again, it has that Nile-ish vibe, like kind of Middle Eastern a bit. And then Feed the Vultures, notably a little bit more slow and lumbering at points. It's got punctuated moments of blast beats in there. But I kind of like that more like lumbering, almost kind of like... It's got a little bit of that old bull thrower kind of groove to it where it just feels like Tank Tread stomping over skulls.
I thought the beginning of Feed the Vultures actually had almost a slam riff to it, but it had double-time drums underneath it, which was pretty cool. And a bit more riff intricacy, too. I'm not saying that none of these songs had intricate riffs, because there's a lot of crawling moments. But Feed the Vultures had not only crawling riffs, but a few more caveats to them as well. Like every time they got through a crawl, they would change the beat that it came in on next. That little minute tempo change in there added just a bit more to it, which I really liked. Plus, there was a time I thought where it had kind of a Black Dahlia Murder vibe to it. I could just see Trevor just kind of commanding the crowd, which was really cool.
Some huge Suffocation-style triplet chugs in there, too. Like, if I were to, like, pick some, like, distinct guitar styles... Like, I definitely heard a lot of, like, Terrence Hobbs, like that intricate, like, fun triplet harmony thing. But, of course, also some Morbid Angel. The lead on Feed the Vultures in particular has a trash flair to it. Like, it's kind of wild and uncontrollable, but underneath you can really hear this, like, interesting melody.
One thing that stood out to me, and it kind of ended up being a funny moment in the review, is the second track. 99% of it is heavy and whoops ass. But the 1% beginning kind of threw us for a loop there. It almost has this techno-metal atmosphere going on in the beginning. And it was so different than the opening track. I looked at Nick looked at me, we looked at John, and we were thinking like...
Did he fuck up?
Is this like an advertisement or something we need to get through? But,
which one of us is going to yell Mortal Kombat?
Right.
And then boom. As soon as the riff came in, we were like, okay, this is the right song, but... What the hell? Didn't expect that.
Yeah, it had kind of a Brat vibe to it. If you've ever seen Brat live, it was kind of that opening. Like, they get out on stage and they're like, what the fuck is happening? And then, off to the races. But yeah, it was odd.
It's, all right. I feel like it's almost like a deliberate sort of lead-in because instantly after it kicked in, reminded me a lot of Morbid Angel. That riff on there is, just... unbelievably Morbid Angel. Is a cool lurch in it. The tremolos are harmonized. They sound evil as shit. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, it is Morbid Angel, but it's more like something that would pop up on Domination where they had like the interludes or whatever. Like there was definitely some industrial stuff in there, like the lead in to Dawn of the Angry, which is like the best fucking song on there. But yeah, like I thought that was maybe kind of a deliberate nod there. I don't know. It kind of worked. Like it was a weird, moment just to kind of make us go, wait, what? Are we listening to the right thing?
Yeah, when I first heard this a couple days ago, I was in the car on the way to work, and that hit, and I was like, hold on, wait, what happened? I thought maybe I clicked something, but no, it was that. But yeah, I mean, it's got a definite Morbid Angel nod. I would state that is the case, that was the point of this song.
And we are all here for that.
Now, as Shred said about the beginning and the closing of this album, he brought up, it just comes in absolutely just destroying you. Like, it's heavier than hell. But both of those tracks, Burn Under Ashes and the last track, Rise of Chaos, also probably have maybe some of the most melody to them, or at least, like, the most atmosphere. Atmosphere, I mean, it kind of comes in pockets in here. Like, you have that industrial lead-in, which, again... was odd, but it does add a little bit of atmosphere to it. The whole end of Rise of Chaos, you hear the dissonant atmosphere come back, and it's really cool how they build into it because, like, towards the end, they kind of get down to these just absolutely savage chugs, like, big on the groove. Occasionally, you'll get, like, an extra, like, cavernous, reverby hit in the snare, and I just like things like that. But as the song kind of, like, starts to peter out, you hear this melody build behind it. And it gets this kind of like wall of distance and becomes like way more sinister. And I like that balance between like just outright savagery and then adding like a sinister, more evil mood to the album.
As far as any negatives are concerned, I don't really have too much of any. There is one thing that I thought was maybe a little off, and I think, for me at least, it was the lead volume. While the leads are really good, at least in my opinion, I thought that they tend to get a little bit buried underneath all the heft and chug. It could have just been me. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I mean,
I always think you turn up the leads, but that's just a selfish opinion.
Coming from the lead guitarist, yes. Yeah, I mean, I do agree, though, that the leads kind of did need to be turned up at points. Especially on Desolating World.
Yeah.
There's a whole like cool tapping lead in there. Again, another one that's like very Trey-ish, but underneath all of the relentless drumming and just relentless chugging on there, it does kind of get buried a little bit. I like hearing a lead tone that kind of cuts through all that din. And that's kind of my only complaint too. Like, yeah, the techno moment was just kind of a brief what? And then, you know, we were right back on track and everything was fine after that. I like the production on here. I think it sounds solid. It's maybe a little bit compressed, but at the same time, I think it sounds good. And yeah, there really isn't a track on here where I'd say it felt a little bit weak.
Really, the only track that I wasn't 100% crazy about was Forged in Blood, although the ending did bring it up a lot for me. However, I think it's just because the first 2 tracks really whooped my ass so much, and it was a little bit different than the first 2. So in that regard, it was kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it does have like a more like old school vibe, like, you know, D beats and machine gun riffs. I know like these dudes are big thrash fans, and I don't know, I kind of liked hearing that. Plus, it also kind of like, you know, opened up the variety. But yeah, as the song went on, I do think it did get better.
The rest of it was really good, and it was, once again, it was a really fast listen because it was enjoyable.
Yeah,
you know, it didn't drag. Before you know it, we're through it, and you're like, oh damn, okay.
Right. So overall, I'm gonna give this EP 4 stars. I thought it was a banger. It is very aggressive. It is very riffy. It's full of chug, which I absolutely love. And the little bits of atmosphere, like I like how it is more centric around being brutal and heavy than it is chock full of atmosphere. Like the atmosphere was just in little pockets, and that's what made those moments more unique. It is balls to the wall heavy. It's pretty much unrelenting. Like they never really give up with just smacking you in the face over and over and over again with heavy riffs. The breakdowns on here are solid. There are little nods to all sorts of bands that I love: Morbid Angel, Suffocation, Undeath, Decapitated, Nile, Skeletal Remains, things like that. If you just want a good smack to the face of punchy, brutal, old school death metal, I would definitely recommend checking this out.
I am also at a 4. This is an absolutely solid EP, you know, a tight runtime, but, you know, at no point do I feel like anything was hurried, nothing was stretched out too far. All the songs stand out individually, too. Like, there's a lot of character to each song. Like, you get thrashier songs, you get more brutal songs. Great use of dissonant atmosphere in a couple. They didn't overuse any one trope, and they kept it savage, brutal, and riffier than hell throughout this entire thing. The energy is 100% up. There's no lulls in energy, really. I would say this is ideal for what you'd want in an EP. Like, you have a shorter release. You don't want any points where, like, oh, man, that kind of drags. Or, you know, doing what some EPs do for whatever fucking reason, throw an intro on it.
Right.
Because you're only offering, like, a 20-minute little, you know, like, listen here. Like, oh, no, we got to pepper in 8 movie samples and a synth just because reasons. This does not waste any time in any one particular thing. It just beats you over the head and just delivers quality death metal. If you're a big fan, again, Suffocation, Decapitated, I would say, again, Undeath is in there too, Skeletal Remains, like lots of just absolutely solid death metal. Check this out. This is awesome.
Let the children come, and also the adults who love metal, because this is a fun, I wouldn't say throwback, but this takes me to places and bands that I love. Fun listen. Nothing is repeated. I like how Nick's pointed out the fact that every song seems to have its own character and its own flavor, and that makes it stand out on its own. It still felt uniform, but each one was like a different child, per se, in the family. Great riffs, good leads, good production. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5, staying alive. Staying alive.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you were new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also now have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and we are going to start doing more live streams for the members. We're probably going to do them maybe like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Again, December. Holidays. Trust me, I think almost everyone on the planet knows. We also have stupid emojis. I haven't added any other dumb ones because I haven't added any yet. But trust me, I have tons of dumb pictures to throw in there for emojis.
We all do. We all have dumb pictures. That's
Cannot wait.
what we do.
But yeah, this is the new way to support the channel more directly. We are trying to get away from Patreon. Again, live streaming is starting to cost a little bit more. If you would like to join up, there is a join button down below. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats, and that is also linked down below in the video description.
Tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings. Really, if you've been a fan of this channel for a long time, you already know that we're just going to pretty much put out videos every day to entertain you in some way, shape, or form. Live streams, discussion panels, blah, blah, blah. All metal all the time at Thralls of Metal. That's what we do, and we do it for you guys because we appreciate you. Thank you to all of our subscribers, our family, our friends, everybody that supports us along the way. We are almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We love you, and we love you, and hope all the good things in life happen to you and only you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule, and tons more content coming your way. So one more big thank you, because you're awesome, and we will catch you later.